Hi everyone, I'm your host Luis Serrano, and this is the
Seventh.
episode of 101 Tech Talks. And I'm here today with Daniel Oropeza. Hi Daniel.
Hello, Luis. Thank you for having me.
No, thank you for being here. Thank you for your time. So yeah, I invited you to this podcast because we met uh, more than a year ago. I think I was
A
looking
lot
for
more
a
than
job.
that. Yeah.
A lot more. Yeah, probably. Just it's just when you have kids, it's like time flies and you don't really realize how long
Yeah.
it passed. But yeah, I was searching for a job, and we met each other on LinkedIn, and we had this interaction. It didn't materialize in any job, but I thought you were really interesting, and we've kept in touch ever since. And the reason you're here today, apart for being awesome, is
Thank
because
you.
you have this new project. So you're building a company now. So when I met you, you were a solo, or you were doing recruiting for another company, but now you have your own thing, and that's why we're here today to discuss about that. So I wanted to ask you one thing. Well, let's first let you introduce yourself. Sorry for being rude. Uh,
No
the
worries.
floor is yours.
Yeah, no, actually, we met at pre-pandemic times. It was probably
Hmm.
2019 or something like that. I remember very well that call we
Wow.
had.
Oh,
And yeah, you're
you
right.
had
I
a
was,
long blackout.
yeah, yeah. We all had, I think, a little bit. That was looks like a different era. But yeah, I remember at that time I was working on my own as a tech recruiter. And then just recently I decided to move on from that slightly and I started my own company, my own executive search company to be more precise.
Okay. So I think this interview is going to have two parts. So part number one is the entrepreneur part of it, but then I also wanted to take this chance to demystify some of the HR concepts like executive search, because I have to tell you,
Good.
I'm not sure what that is.
Okay, we'll find out for sure.
Thousand times, but yeah, let's start with part one. Like, yeah, so you were recruiting for another company or for yourself, but now you have this project. Can you tell us about that and how you started?
Yeah, right. Well, this actually started during the pandemic. I was working on my own, just doing different gigs for various companies and some other recruitment agencies. That was the time where the tech recruitment was a big deal. There was a lot of demand for programmers and people in technical roles, and yeah, well, I just took advantage of that really. But I thought after considering it carefully that maybe the world needed a little bit more of an input in recruiting for like key roles. By key roles, I'm talking about like directors, people who have the ability to maybe expand a business or get into new territory, that those kind of things. So I shied away from the technical recruitment a little bit, which was what was hard, but I saw also that I could make a better contribution working with directors and helping companies to hire for those big roles with the strategic positions, that kind of thing, especially for the smaller companies who are usually it's a big step for them.
Is there more competition in that kind of type of acquisition than technical stuff? Because I can tell you that technical recruiting, there's millions.
There are way too many. Yeah.
Yeah.
There is, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people who say they offer the service, but I think there is definitely a lot of space for improvement. That is my journey basically. I'm trying to see where I can give a better service.
Okay. So Daniel, I've had like very interesting conversations with recruiters, not only in this podcast, but also friends that I met for a long time ago, and I followed their careers and evolution. And each HR professional I've talked to, they have their own way, their own style, their own vision about how to do things correctly. But
Yeah.
then, is there one standard that you would say, okay, there's one way of doing things that is correct, and then I add my own thing on top of it, or it's like everyone has their own strategy, like totally disconnected from each other? How does that work?
That's an interesting question. I never thought about it actually, but I think that when you work with people, everything is unpredictable. So it doesn't help to have a set script and not being able to move from that. You need to put your own personality there, and how you deal with people, how you manage people is different for everyone, because everyone is different basically. So I would say, yeah, everyone basically has their own style, their own things.
And there's something else I wanted to ask you. A couple of things before we move to the second part of the interview. So we're seeing a lot of layoffs recently. A lot of big companies are laying off
Yeah,
a lot of people, like super big chunks of people, like thousands of them at once.
yeah.
And they're saying that is because in 2020, because of the pandemic, they overhired and now we're paying the consequences. Do you agree with this statement? Do you think that is the reason? Or it might be that they saw Elon Musk firing almost everyone and
You just
still
want to
having
follow
the
suit.
company just running almost just the same? Do you think? What do you think?
That probably plays a part, yeah, for sure. I think there was a lot of overexcitement about hiring people back in the pandemic, and there was probably a lot of investment money following that trend, and then maybe the bubble might have burst a little bit. That's my impression. Also, I suppose there is no one single reason why this is happening. Also, maybe productivity is on the rise, whereas before you needed 20 people to do one job, maybe now you need two. Maybe I'm exaggerating, but that
But
is
it's
my
been only
impression
like
too.
3 years. Well,
In it
not 3 years, 2 years if you don't count 2020 itself. It's been 2 years, and now it's like they have too many people. Almost all the big companies, all the big names they need to teach a big chunk of their workforce.
Okay, and what's your take? Just out of curiosity.
I think it's the second. So I gave you two options. So maybe overhiring, but then there's the second part where Elon Musk just he fired 90 something percent of the workforce, and Twitter is still running and still.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, maybe not profiting, but it wasn't profiting before either. So if
It
it's
never
not
was.
profiting, is
No, no.
yeah, if it's not profiting, it's not because of the firings, it's because of the business model itself or how he's running the company. But from a CEO point of view,
Hmm.
logistics or however you want to call it, he fired a lot of people, 90 something percent, and
Wow.
Twitter hasn't gone away. It's still there, still works in the eyes of everyone,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
especially all the people complaining, oh, but how are you doing that? You're crazy, you're going to ruin the company, it's going to fall down, you'll be out of business in no time. Nope, nothing like that has happened. And suddenly we see a lot of companies realizing that maybe there's too many people in their workforce. So
Right,
i
right,
think
right.
i think it has to do with that. I don't know, I wanted your opinion because maybe you've seen or heard something while you are dealing with uh, screening processes. Maybe some company was asking you to get 10 people and now only want one, something like that.
That's to do with what I told you before about productivity. I think there's definitely a rise of productivity thanks to artificial intelligence, better processes, and that. And companies are more focused on finding that one person that is multi-skilled in many different things and has the capability to adapt quickly to new things and can maybe outsource work rather than having just one big team doing things all the time. I think that there's definitely a trend on that, especially in startups. Startups used to have a lot of funding not so long ago, and for them it was really cheap to hire people. And they say, okay, yeah, we need 10 developers, let's just hire 15, why not? And now they are probably like looking at the pennies a little bit more, and then trying to optimize those hirings. That is from my point of view, but obviously I don't work in any big tech companies.
I do. I work at Cognizant at the moment, and we
Yeah,
haven't fired anyone. We're
yeah.
actually hiring.
You're
Just
actually
so you
hiring.
know,
Okay. Right.
people out there, Cognizant is always hiring. So, yeah, you mentioned AI. Yes, of course, AI is important. Generative AI just disrupted everything
Yeah,
this
yeah,
last
yeah.
year. But I think it's too soon to tell. Or I mean, maybe rather it's too soon for it to have a real impact because we can see the potential. But as of now, artificial intelligence can do tasks, but it cannot do jobs. So it can
Yeah.
do very tiny things, like nuclear tasks. Like I'm building a project, and I
Mhm.
can ask GPT to do some of the hardest parts for me, but it cannot create, like a full structure. It cannot understand the full requirements. It cannot translate yet. This is hard to believe, but although we have Mid Journey that can produce like real life imagery, it cannot translate um, a wireframe into a working website. There are tools to do that, but it's cumbersome. It doesn't create a full website. It's just
Sure.
one page at a time. So I think we're not there yet. We will be there at some point,
We are on
but
track,
we're
you
not there
think?
yet.
Yeah.
Yes, and but while we're speaking about AI, I wanted to ask you in your field, in tech recruiting or recruiting in general, we are starting to read or see articles and news everywhere that AI is also getting into HR, and
Yeah.
that it is being used to filter, but also to make decisions at some point. So, do you see AI yourself as a tool or as a competitor?
I see it as a tool. I see it as a tool, but I do agree with you that we still don't know exactly how this is going to pan out, or we're still not there in terms of getting the full productivity out of it. I heard recently something really funny that AI is like sex when you are a teenager. That everyone is speaking about it, everyone says they're doing it, but no one is doing it. Oh, no one is doing
That's,
it right, at least. No,
I'm going to steal that one. I'm going to make
it's
that
not
the
mine.
title of this video. No, 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 no. Yeah, but
Uh,
it's a good one. Yes.
but you asked me about making decisions using AI to take decisions. I don't think this should ever happen. Really, I mean, at least the final word uh, have to be expressed by a human being. It definitely, I think AI definitely needs will have a contribution in helping us having more better processes, running things more smoothly, maybe eliminating like repetitive tasks and these kind of things. But ultimately, decisions have to be taken by a person. I think that's the way it should be. I don't think AI is made to take decisions. Don't know if you agree.
But if AI filters out people because they don't meet the criteria, that's already a decision, isn't it?
That's a good point, yeah. But maybe at some initial stage, you can say, well, I mean, I give you a bunch of CVs. I feed the machine with a bunch of CVs. I say, okay, if they don't have experience in this certain industry, then it's okay for you to discard them. But I don't think that's like a final decision on a person. Okay, should I hire this person? Let me ask the robot. Let me ask the AI. I
Yeah.
think that's wrong. Maybe it's possible to do it, but I think it's totally wrong. That's where a person has to be.
Well, filtering up to some degree is already done, right? Because if you're
Oh
so
yeah,
you're a recruiter, you're on LinkedIn, and you filter out. Uh, so you specify some criteria, and the people who don't meet the criteria won't be in the results. So that's already some filtering, but that is not a decision making. But let's go one step beyond. So let's say, for example, in my profile, I have a lot of keywords that would make me appear in many search results,
yeah.
but there might be a second or deeper criteria that says, okay, I want someone who's not, who hasn't changed jobs too often, because I want someone stable. For those who are not seeing the video, I'm making quotes with my fingers. Stable. So,
That's a
eh,
good clip.
eh, yeah, because I mean, the search results or any search engine will give you results with that
Yeah.
kind of filtering. So they can give you keywords.
Yeah.
But if I say, hey, I want someone who has worked more than 4 years in the same company,
Yeah. Yeah.
that won't be part of the search results. But AI can say that, and that's already a decision.
Yeah, but who is
So
instructing AI to use those filters? It's a person,
in
right?
theory, the company using the tool, yes,
Well, that's the thing. So AI is only amplifying your bias, basically. You say,
correct.
okay, I don't want people who has changed jobs more than 5 times, but then that's your prejudice. That's you instructing the AI. So AI is not doing anything different. You're just passing on your ideas,
Yeah, that's a
basically.
good point. That's a good point. Yes. It would be different if I would ask, okay, so I'm describing this position. AI, what do you think? Oh, I think you need someone who hasn't changed jobs for a long time. That would be a discrimination by AI, not by the person. Right. Yes. Okay. Well, either way, I hope they keep, these tools ethical
Yeah,
and that all these regulations, they take these things into account. I think they do. The new European regulations, all the laws around AI, I think they consider these things. But let's see, because it's one thing what they do with the law, but then there's a lot of loopholes and workarounds,
sure.
and they can outsource the hiring to United States where the law is not applicable, and there you go.
To other countries.
Anyway,
Yeah.
yes.
I
So,
think, I mean, ultimately, if you are a good professional, AI will be a great tool. If you are a bad professional, AI will just amplify how bad you are, basically. And
yes,
that's the same that has happened with all the tools we have known in history so far, right? If you are a
yes,
good carpenter and you get the most amazing tools, a hammer, your have a nice workshop, but you are a terrible carpenter, then it's just you're just gonna get poor results. The same happens with AI, in my opinion.
yes. So coming back to your joke, everybody says they're doing AI, but nobody is. Uh, do you think it's a selling point? So would you put AI on your website if you're selling your services as a recruiter, just
Uh,
to sell more, maybe? Do you think that would be a good idea or counterproductive?
no, I think it's a good idea to yeah, to advertise that you use AI, but I just try to convey that I'm using it in the right way, or I try to think that I'm using it in the right way, just to help make the process faster. One of my selling propositions is that I can find key candidates in less than 10 days, and the way I can do that is because I use AI to speed up processes.
Oh, okay. So I think, yeah, I talked about two parts in this podcast episode. First would be uh, your company and then demystifying HR. But I think we've done it the other way around. So we've talked about some topics to demystify how HR is done these days. Now let's talk about your company and
Okay.
how you are doing things differently in your view. So
uh,
what's your starting or your selling point basically
my
to
unique
start?
selling proposition, yeah, well, I try to do things faster. I try to be a strategic partner for my customers. So basically, my clients are my target clients are small, medium businesses that don't have the time or the resources to be, researching or trying to put the hours to make the best decisions. So I try to come in as a strategic partner, as I say. I'm helping them in the whole process. For example, a company might want to open an office in Valencia, just to give you an example, and they want to hire a local director or a sales director. So maybe they want someone who can take them by the hand and be part of the process from day one, and maybe research the market first, run the numbers, make sure it makes sense, it's a sensible move, and then that's probably how I can contribute better in comparison to other competitors.
Okay. Oh, sorry, the phone in the middle of the call. um, all right. So Do you think networking in person is still important?
Yeah, I think it's crucial. I'm a big fan of in person, doing things in person.
No, but I mean, in terms of you have your company that is all about finding people. Do you go to events to find these people? How do you do that? And how do you think it should be done in the future, considering that everybody's looking at AI and maybe staying at home and just applying to jobs through LinkedIn and this kind of portals?
I don't do as much live networking as I wanted because maybe, yeah, probably we have all got used to be at home, working from home and getting things sorted out from our desk. But yeah, I think that is definitely one of my resolutions for this year. Try to be out there, going to events, meeting people in the flesh.
Okay. Good. All right. So, yeah, coming back to the beginning. So, step back. You're doing things on your own. And what's the difference between being a solo freelancer and having a full company? Um,
Well, I still run the company by myself. Just the thing that uh, when you have a company, you have a brand, and then that might help you to reach other companies and also try get collaborators to work with you. That's the big difference, and also it is it's a strategy to grow in the future. You cannot be just yourself. It's something more than myself. That's where I'm trying to go. That's what I'm pointing at.
Interesting. And how is it going so far?
It's going well. Yeah, I mean, it's been a bit of a roller coaster. Like, I'm not new to the industry. I've been doing it as a freelancer, as you say, but setting up the company and having the website up and having everything documented and all this kind of things. It's been a lot of hard work. Not necessarily fun work. It's stuff that you have to do, but you don't really want to do it. But yeah, I mean, it's an interesting journey.
And do you feel from the other side, from the applicant side or the job seekers, do you think they feel it different when being approached by someone who's a solo freelance, a solo recruiter, or a company? When there's a company behind them, do you think there's a perception of or different perception?
Maybe. I mean, maybe the fact that you have a brand behind you give them the more confidence in terms of like, oh, this is, there is something set up, there is a way of doing things, there is a method, there is some background, rather than just one person coming out of the blue. But I still think that in this industry, if you work in the people industry, it is important also your personality and being out there, talking to people and just having a basic human interaction.
Yeah, I mean, I can vouch for you that after these years, we're still in touch, and every now and then you touch base with me, or the other way
Yeah,
around, and you ask me how I am. So that's something that not everyone does, and I think that's some added value right there, because it really tells that you're not just using me for this process that you need a candidate for. You try to build a network, a relationship with people,
absolutely. Yeah.
and that pays off. So I'm sure that the same way you're keeping in touch with me, you're keeping in touch with a lot of people, and eventually that helps you a lot in your job, and that becomes an asset to your company, doesn't it?
Totally, yeah, I totally agree with you. I mean, I do this. It's good to make friends. If you're going to be working 8+ hours per day and talking to people, so why not adding a personal touch? It's not just about having interviews and asking people for their skills. It's about getting to know people at a deeper level. And yeah, I've made friends in the journey and have stay in touch with people like you, as you say. Always trying to check on people, how they doing. This kind of things is important, I think.
All right. So this podcast is about technology, um, but well, actually, personal journeys through technology. And I wanted to ask you something about the technology related. So how do you keep in touch, or how do you keep up with all the processes that you have and also all the contacts? You just LinkedIn, or you use some CRM? How do you manage your network
With
and
question,
also opportunities? And
yeah, because I worked in technology before as a tech recruiter. I learned a few things, and one of them was the agile methodology. I started managing my processes using Trello and using the column systems and giving my clients access to it. And now I'm using a recruitment platform that is based on Trello, basically, but it's just more better optimized for working with people. And we have the campaign columns. You move people from one stage to another, and it's been really, really efficient. It's another thing that probably is not common in recruitment, and I think is should be looked at. Very, very helpful.
okay. Um, so one more question. This is more like personal curiosity. So you're a recruiter, and so we, the candidates, normally expect to hear back from the company, but it's not the company we talk to. There's the middleman or the middle woman, middle person, let's say.
Yeah,
In this case, let's say it's you. But so the pressure to keep the communication flowing is on your table. But many companies don't really
they're not really
don't
good at
really,
it. No,
yeah, they're not really good at it at all. So you have to be the one, like giving the good or bad news, or just handling the lack of communication, the lack of
yeah,
response. How do you keep up with that? I mean, you can have your Trello board, but if a bunch of companies at once are just not saying anything at all, how do
yeah,
you
yeah.
manage that?
Well, first of all, I try not to be judgmental. When a client doesn't come back to me, I'm not saying, "Oh, these people are rubbish. They hate people. I don't want to work with them." That's not the case
Oh, but
most
they
of the
are.
time. Or maybe some of them are, but to be fair, not majority of people are nice people, but they just too busy. And I think a recruitment process is normally a mismatch of different expectations. The recruiter has one expectation, the client has another type of expectations, the candidate has other ones, and this timing is a big thing. It's a big issue here. The timing is not the same for a candidate that wants to land a job as soon as possible, and a recruiter that wants to close it, and a company that is just taking their time.
Yeah.
First of all,
Sometimes it's the other
yeah,
way around. Sometimes some companies really want someone right now, and then they find a candidate that is good, but I already have a
they drag their
job. I'm
feet.
not sure. I have other processes. I already received some offers. Blah 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 blah. So it can be both ways. It's a double-edged sword, isn't it?
Yeah, totally, totally. I think, but back to your question, I mean, how I manage that, I think it's important that a recruiter manages their clients. You need to manage them, and they need to know that you are managing them, so that you give them, some timing expectations, a calendar, some dates, like it'd be ideal if we can close this in 2 weeks, or at least give us an update, these kind of things. And they maybe at the beginning they might be a little reluctant to be managed by a recruiter, but when they understand the benefits of this, it works fantastically. Also, it's important to remind them that their brand is out there. The people are looking at their brand, and if they don't respond, or if they have a messy process, people are going to have the wrong idea of the company, or maybe the real idea, but that's not what you want. You want to be as
Exactly.
clean
Yes.
as possible.
Yeah. So, yeah, one last question. This is also a personal curiosity, but I think it will be interesting to be covered in this episode. So,
Well,
when you're recruiting technical stuff, there's technical tests or challenges or whatever. So, I'm not going to say anyone can do those interviews because it's not true. You still need to have some, I don't know, some mindset. But when you're dealing with executives and directors, you need like the old school recruiters with a psychology degree. Uh, so you really need to read into the person because there's no, I mean, with a technical person, you have a technical test and you can either pass it
yeah,
or not pass it.
Yeah.
But with a director, which you haven't seen in action, and you cannot see him in action, what what kind of procedures do you follow to make sure that this person really fits the criteria?
I'm a big believer in predictive interviews. You know that typically when you go to an interview, they ask you, "Oh, what do you do in this company?" And that's fine. You know, you can say, "Oh, yes, we increase the sales by 20%," blah blah blah. That might be true, but what are you going to do to in this company? You know, I think that's the best kind of question that will tell you a lot about the person. You know, so for example, you go to an interview and you have a particular challenge, you share this challenge with your candidate and say, well, how would you solve this problem? You know, how can your experience and your background contribute to this problem, and in which way you will do it? And that definitely, I mean, it's very difficult to evaluate people in an interview, but if you can get questions related to to how their brain work, how they solve problems, is probably one of the, at least the best way I know to find out when you are hiring directors and key staff.
Okay, that's good. Um, I told you before that it would be the last question, but I lied to you. I just thought about a new one.
Yeah, keep
I hope
going.
I'm not abusing your confidence. Yeah, no, I was thinking when you said that, it might be true, that made me think of a new question. So we all know, we all exaggerate, or
Oh
over
yeah.
sell ourselves in interviews when we're candidates. But I wanted to ask you if that also applies to the other side. If a company makes things look
Always.
pretty when they really aren't that way.
Well, this is like dating, Luis. You need to be able to read between the lines. Everyone is going to exaggerate. Everyone is going to put them in the best light possible, and that's a good thing. I mean, that's natural human interaction when you meet someone.
Yeah.
Um,
It, I guess what I wanted to really ask you, I mean, yes, of course, it's obvious that both sides will try to put things in a better light, but from the candidate point of view, I mean, it's very easy because we have this mindset where when a candidate goes to an interview, is the company making most of the questions, and then do you have any question? Like in the last minute, you give the candidate, and I think that's something that you do out of respect. You let the candidate ask questions,
yeah.
but there's not enough time, especially when it's not in person, when it's not face to face, and you're not on site. You cannot see people working. You cannot read the vibe. You're in your home. You're in front of a computer. There's someone there smiling. How can you really see as a candidate? What can you ask to find out, the real deal on the other side? What would you advise to candidates to ask in this
Okay, to answer.
situation?
Yeah, 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 yeah. Well, anything to do with how well they will fit in the role, I think. I mean, a good question to ask in these lines will be like, with my experience, how do you think I can better contribute to this project, to this role? I think that could be a good question. However, I think an interviewer shouldn't speak too much. I believe in the 80-20 rule. Is 80% of the time is the candidate talking or
Yes.
more. That's how you
Yeah.
know a person.
Yes. Yeah, no, that's unfortunate because it should be really, especially for someone who's changing jobs, like I
Yeah.
already have a job and I'm not happy. I want to change, but I want to make sure that that place where I'm going now is better. But sometimes I feel like I don't really know where I'm getting into, where I'm signing into, unless there's some kind of, real life interaction. So, for example, um, I don't really like technical tests, but
Mhm.
I have to admit that once I went on site to do this test. I did a whiteboard test, and it was a good opportunity to see how people, how they work, because they were most of the team I would work in case I would be given the position were there in that room, so I
Yeah,
could
yeah, yeah.
I could see the feelings between them. You could see them. It was in the air. So some of them were like clearly burned out.
Right.
Others were happy. The manager was pretty aggressive,
Right. Right. Right.
in his
Right.
managerial position. So without asking anything, I could see it. And then I thought,
Mhm.
okay, I don't enjoy these interviews because I'm really clumsy, in real life, in real
Yeah. Yeah.
time. Nobody, when I'm typing code in my day to day, nobody's watching over my shoulder. And when that happens, that puts a lot of pressure that I'm not used to. That's why I'm clumsy. It's like I'm not. I don't know. It's a funny feeling. It's not.
Yeah. No.
It's
No.
not.
I totally get it. I would feel the same way
But
for sure.
but at the same time, it's a very good chance to see them. So I don't know. I think like if I were to be if I were to ask the question, what would you do
Right.
differently if you were a recruiter? I would offer someone to be in the company just
Mhm.
watching for a couple of hours, 3 hours.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I think it will work both ways. It will also be
Yes,
a way for the employer to see how this person will fit in. No,
yeah.
yeah,
So
it's a
if you
great
ask
idea.
questions, yeah, the employer would see, is he showing curiosity? Is this person asking questions? How is this person shy or I don't know, assertive?
Yeah,
Yeah, all of these things you will see them without saying anything at all, just by watching, and that's a
totally,
human thing.
totally.
That would be very good.
Maybe.
I
Sorry, Luis. What you wanted to ask me before was more along the lines on how you filter out a company. No, how as a candidate can can find out a little bit more about the reality, no, of the day to day and how the company is
Yes,
managed. No, these kind of questions.
because
Yeah,
publicly all you can see is marketing and
I get
probably
it.
Glassdoor, but Glassdoors, uh, we know now that you can buy Glassdoor reviews and
Yeah.
that you can influence Glassdoor reviews, removing the negative ones. So that is not real. It's not really reliable, if you ask me.
Yeah, I think
I
that's
was very
that
disappointed.
this overselling companies is a tech evil mainly because tech normally struggles to find people to find candidates and they just normally go overboard selling the company. Oh yeah, this is the best place to work and we have donuts and we have coffee and we have pizza and you can
Yeah,
work from in the swimming
when they,
pool and
when they offer too many toys, is because there's something wrong.
exactly.
Yeah,
Especially, and if you have a high turnover in a team, that's not a good thing.
yeah. No, you're right. Yeah, well, it's been a super interesting chat. Is there anything you would like to add about your company or yourself
Uh,
on a final note?
no, I just remember that at the beginning you asked me about executive search, so you don't know exactly what executive search sounds a little
Yes,
bit.
right. Yes, I forgot about that question. Yes.
And I wanted to come up with a definition because obviously a lot of people talk about executive search and it can mean anything. But in my opinion, and what I do is strategic hires. When a company needs a person that will either help them to transform or to move the company forward, that hire is better done to by a recruiter that specializes in executive search rather than just mass recruiting people. It's a little bit difficult. It takes more research, more time, and better organized processes.
Interesting. So that's more like high profile. Um, to-
Yeah, I mean, people with direction background, leadership positions, people who are going to run a team, who's going to establish a plan, a growth plan, these kind of things.
good. Well, very good to know. Thank you. Yeah, because I don't know. I read this. I kind of understood what it was, but like management as
Yeah, it's
job,
empty
but
words, no?
yeah, yeah, more or less. Thank you for putting some meaning into those words. I'll remember this. Thank you very much, Daniel.
You're welcome. Well, that's what I try to do. So other
Good,
people
good, good.
might have a different opinion, but that's my experience.
Good. Well, thank you again for being here. It's been a pleasure talking to you. I didn't have a script because I knew you and I knew the questions I wanted to ask you. So this I think this has been the more natural episode
Oh,
I've
has it?
recorded. Yeah, it's been really like a chat. So in the past, with people I didn't know at all, I had some questions for them after doing some research. But with you, I already knew what I wanted to ask you.
Cool. So
And
glad it
I gave
flow
you some
natural.
questions. Yeah, I gave you some questions that were in my mind for a long time. And I didn't know who to ask, but I asked you. Yeah.
Great.
So
So yeah,
thank you.
anytime.
Thank you for answering. Yeah. Good, good. Well, everyone, Super Daniel here. If you want recruitment services, I can tell you he is very good. And I'm not saying this because I know him. I know
You've
because
been a
I've seen the
candidate.
results on LinkedIn. And I've been a candidate myself, and I know how I was treated. And I'm super thankful, so much that we've been in touch ever since. So that's the best proof I can give you guys.
Thank you very much, Luis. It's been an absolute pleasure to be here.
Thank you, everyone, for listening to the 6 episodes of One-on-One Tech Talks. I'll see you next week. Thank you, Daniel, again. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.